How often do you guys use the phrase "I don't give a shit"? I want you to
Every
think
day.
about
I don't.
I don't give a
Quite often.
I use it every day.
it. I use it every day.
I
So
don't give
all
a
y'all
shit
some
about
bunch of
this stuff.
assholes.
I like to not give a
I
fuck.
don't give a fuck. Yeah, so yeah, I use it quite a lot, huh? That's what y'all would say.
I just say I don't care.
This current generation hates to feel human or is offended by telling them that they like something. And our community, or not our community, but our generation is very self-interested and less community-minded than other preceding generations. Y'all agree with that?
Heck yes. Well, I mean, I have a general dislike of the internet as a general, which is, I use the internet all the time, but I hate the way that in our efforts to try and be more worldwide and connect and that stuff, we become more isolated as a culture, I feel. Like, you don't need to go outside because all you can do is just play video games inside or go look at Midnight Chat Attack every Saturday.
Wow.
in all
The
serious,
real stuff.
in all seriousness, like, I just feel like it's so easy for people to be haters nowadays than to actually care or like something. You know what I mean? Like, it's easier to say you suck in a YouTube comment than it is to give a full reason why you like something.
Of course, I have firsthand knowledge a little bit because, I'm still in school and I'm still around people who are, young people, whatever. And I've noticed that they're very self-absorbed. They can't put down their phone for 5 seconds. So I can't even imagine how it'd be like a whole day without one. Um, and yeah, definitely people on the internet. Yeah, they're just so vicious. There is a good side to it. I've been fortunate enough that, most of the people who follow me on my YouTube channel have been very nice, and they tell actual reasons why they might not agree or whatever, and they don't just, flat out say some really horrible stuff. But I do agree that definitely the internet's just, because it's so anonymous, that people feel like they can just say whatever they want to or whatever, or just get out the stress of whatever they're feeling from their actual real lives. But I definitely do think that people are so much more like isolated from each other than they were. Let's say when I was younger, I went outside all the time, and I used to go over like rivers and stuff. Now I can't even be bothered. Like I'm out inside most of the time, so it just shows how I've kind of changed as well.
I've not made it subtle or hidden at all that I really hate the idea of the social justice warrior. And I get one thing of being an activist or being political, but it's mutated into something so creepy and weird and oppressive and bizarre that, I mean, because I know firsthand people who have been or were my friends who have become those people. Just like, you can't tell jokes anymore because jokes are offensive to the nature of people, and you can't make fun of people anymore. And, and that's the thing, is like that's kind of mutated out of this whole weird, isolated mentality where, because you don't talk to anybody, because you don't interact with anybody other than text on your computer, you can just think of whatever dumb crap you want and just post it on there and just go, well, it's my opinion, so whatever.
For me, when it comes to like staying connected, I'm all for the idea of having a cell phone for emergency purposes. Like, I think about nowadays, I can't imagine leaving my house without a cell phone. Like, I remember the days, because I am much older than some of y'all. I'm 34, and I remember the days of 20 years ago leaving the house without a cell phone.
Back in the 1880s?
Shut up. I remember, like, the other day I was going on my way to work, and I was like, shit, I think I forgot my cell phone. And I was like, oh, got it. And I said to myself, why am I panicking about having to drive 35 minutes to work without a cell phone? And then I thought about it, well, we don't have payphones anymore. And, 20 years ago, payphones were everywhere. Now we don't have them because everyone's got a cell phone. You don't need payphones. For me, as far as everyone being connected all the time, my pet peeve is if you're at the dinner table and you're having dinner. I mean, whether you're out to a restaurant or whatever, and you look over and everyone's on their fucking phones. If you're Instagramming something, Instagram it, take the damn picture, put the damn phone down. Why are you on Huffington Post? We're talking to you. We're trying to have a conversation. We're trying to enjoy each other's time. My friends and I were at a hibachi restaurant the other night, and we look over at the table, the hibachi whatever next to us, and there was like 3 teenagers at the table with their family, and all of them were on their phones. Nobody was talking. Nobody was hanging out. No one was enjoying the show of the guy doing his little thing, whatever. They were just sitting on their phones, texting or listening to music or whatever, and it's sad.
Eddie, you have any opinions about the situation? Do you think this generation is self-absorbed and less community-driven?
Fuck bitches make money.
I don't really give a fuck. No. I do. I'm just glad that I'm not like that. Like, I can actually put my fucking phone down and talk to somebody for 10 minutes. And I do actually go outside at least every day and try to walk and just get some fresh air, even though I do play a lot of video games and stuff, so...
Nah, man, there's bears outside. Don't go out there.
Well, there is actually bears where I live, but fuck them.
You could ruin someone's reputation on the internet if you really wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, I mean, one of my exes, when we broke up, he got so pissed off at me that he went and just, I mean, he wasn't just doing this, like, face-to-face, talking shit about me face-to-face. He went on Facebook and messaged, like, half of my closest friends and just went the fuck off and just made it sound like I was this crazy bitch, that I was cruel, that I ruined his life, that I broke his heart. And I'm like, we just didn't work out, nigga. I mean, what's the problem?
Being a little bitch.
That's my whole thing with the whole weird political stuff going on today, where you can really just, all you have to do is just take something that was said out of context and ruin someone's life with it, just with like a click of a button in a video.
I think I agree with most of the people that have already talked. There's been, I don't know, it's variation, I guess, in kind of certain contexts where people are a lot more like individually driven, and in like some places it's kind of community driven. So it's kind of hard to like pinpoint where it is, but I don't know. There's definitely kinds of like pockets where it's a mix of both, and like even something like social media, which like was built to kind of like create this network, isolates people so much and like puts you so much in the spotlight, even if you're not a celebrity. If you mess up, like someone was saying earlier, you mess up, someone finds that, and it can literally like ruin parts of your life.
I think it's starting to teach like all of the kids who are growing up to be, to you know, not have such a like a patience, you know, like the patience, people's patience have just kind of disappeared. Like everyone has to have things now, and if you tell them no, you can't do this, or they have to wait, they just can't handle it, or they can't be without their phones for like 5 minutes. You know, like I was standing in line waiting for it to get seated, and this family, like this mother, she went to the restroom for just like 2 minutes, and this kid just hopped on her phone, like, and they couldn't just sit down and eat or whatever for like 2 minutes. You know, I'm like, really? You know, like they have to be that preoccupied in just such a short amount of time.
In my opinion, a lot of people have grown just to be a lot more pessimistic these days about a lot of things. Like, I see so much stuff on the internet of just people going, well, this person only accomplished this because of this. Oh, well, good for him, but I can't do that, and blah, blah, blah. And this, to me, it bugs me a bit, because I'm generally an optimistic person. Like, I'm usually that guy who's kind of like overly optimistic about stuff, just like, yeah, this is pretty awesome, or this may suck, but this happens here, and then someone always has to be like, oh, why are you so happy? Why are you such a cheerful motherfucker? You should be down like me. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm not bothering you. I'm having a good day, and you're just like, just because you're feeling down, you like, this is what I honestly think. I think the best part of it is just 8-miling the whole situation. Like, what I mean by that is just like, you acknowledge all your faults. Like, okay, for instance, like what Bugs was bringing up, like, someone could bring up something negative about you and say like, oh, well, did you know that freaking Jax used to eat Stretch Armstrongs as a kid? Well, what a fucking freak. I'm just like, yeah, I did. I used to do that shit. And like, I could just be like, I can just admit my faults and just be like, okay, I can be a bit cocky.
What was your fault?
Nothing. Never mind. So you can listen to it later. It's the same thing Corey Coleman had. So there, I'll say that.
Damn it! Who made that point? Alex Robinson in the chat had made a good point. He was just saying it's probably a small few, but they're just loud as fuck. Yeah, right here. Yeah, I think it's a small part of this generation, but they're just loud as hell.
Well, and that's what I've always said too. Is like, you know, the Tumblr weirdos and stuff. Like, they're not that many people, but they have really big megaphones.
What do you think that our generation is more cynical when other generations wasn't? Because I was actually talking to this about Ganja, and I was saying, like, maybe they had no choice. Like, because, you know, the Red Scare, World War II, World War One, so they had no choice to be togetherness. Because they was like, yeah, we got to work together because it's a war and shit. So, what do you
He's
think?
going to die.
I think the main issue right now, actually, like I said, it is the internet. Is that
Yeah.
we have all the information in the world available at our fingertips, and yet we still don't know anything. Like we think we know, but it's only because we can look it up on Google really quickly, and so it doesn't allow for any facts. It doesn't allow for any reason. It's just, well, I have an opinion. I could look it up if I want to, you know, kind of thing like that. And I think that also makes people cynical because they think they know everything. It's like, oh, well, I have the power of the internet right here in my hand.
It's like, I know this because I have Google.
Exactly.
I have the power.
Yeah.
By the power of Google.
By the power of Google.
I think it's more like I think you said it was more a cultural thing. Like a lot of people had more of a sense of community back in the day, and they also felt like they had to look out for other members in the community. Is what I get from when you talk to older folks.
Mhm.
Whereas our generation doesn't really have that. It's more about the individuals, so we focus on our own goals rather than how our neighbors do. I think that's just because that's what's needed now. You don't need a group of people to actually get things done. You can actually get everything done yourself nowadays.
I disagree. I
You actually
disagree.
bring up a very good point, though. Like, yeah, like with all this technology, it doesn't make it more like a one-man show. But that's a good point.
Yeah.
Bugs, what you was about to say?
I disagree because, like, if you live in a neighborhood, you want to know who your neighbors are because you want to know, you want to make sure that the person next door to you is not running a fucking meth lab.
No, but
Well, just run a math lab. That's kind of their business. Until
Yeah,
that,
No, hold on. Let me finish what I'm saying. I moved in with my husband. I moved in together. I moved into the house that he had bought, and I realized this nigga does not know any of his neighbors. He knew only maybe one he was friendly with. The rest of them because he never goes to the HOA meetings, so he does not know anyone here. We're good friends with one of our neighbors now and friendly with another neighbor. The rest of them, we don't know shit about them. They can be crackheads, they can be rapists, they can be anything.
well, they could be rapists.
What neighborhood are you in?
Well, we're not. No, I mean, we're neighborhood. No, nice.
Some stuff in the chat. They're really saying some very interesting things right now. Like Jay said, I don't agree with this generation. It's really any worse than any other. I think we just all have our own problems. Yuri said that the problem with this generation right now is that we don't have no overarching goal or no overall purpose.
yeah.
And Jay brings up a very fucking good point. He said our generation is the equivalent of the humanity's post midlife crisis. And I'm like, yeah, that is kind of a point because we don't really have an identity like the 90s, the 70s, the 80s, trying to find our own identity.
It really does suck.
No, go ahead, Justin.
Well, I'll say this. I think we go through cycles with this kind of stuff because people said this stuff about like the 30s and that kind of stuff where they're the lost generation after like pre and post World War One. You know, it's just this whole.
Well, Justin, I know you watched this movie too, but in Days Confused, do you remember that they talked shit about the 70s being nothing?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
that's the same thing. Yeah, the 70s was the hippie generation, the aimless, wandering people.
So even back in, everyone has that moment with their generation where they criticize it and thinks it could be better.